everyone, this is Minu from AngloLink, and today I'm going to review question forms with you because I know this is a topic that many of you find challenging. By the end of the video you will have a clear understanding of how to formulate question forms in English. So when you're ready, let's begin. Let's start by looking at how we formulate questions with the verb to be. Let's look at our first sentence with the verb to be. It is common. Simply put the verb is behind the subject, it. Is it common? That's right. Let's look at another one. He was here. Put was before he. Was he here? We're ready. Are goes before we. Are we ready? And the last example, there were many people. Were there many people? Now let's look at how we formulate questions with modal verbs. First example, Joe can drive. Like the verb to be, all you need to do is to move the verb behind the subject. Can Joe drive? She could stay. Put could behind she. Could she stay? Let's look at another one. We should stop. Easy. Should we stop? You would like some tea. Would goes before you. Would you like some tea? I must find it. Must I find it? Now let's look at some other verb tenses. First, tenses where you can see the auxiliary. Again, it's easy enough. Just move the auxiliary before the subject. She's looking for a pen. Is goes before the subject. Is she looking for a pen? We're going to start. Are we going to start? They were leaving when he arrived. Put where before they. Were they leaving when we arrived? Here we have the present perfect with the auxiliary has. Just move it behind she. Has she just left? The past perfect. He had had dinner before going out. Just move had before he. Had he had dinner before going out? And finally, with the future tense, will. Simple enough, move will to the beginning of the sentence before the subject. Will prices fall? Now let's look at tenses where you cannot see the auxiliary. As you know, these are the present simple and the past simple. For the present simple, the auxiliaries you need to bring in are do and does. And for the past simple, did. Remember that do is for I, you, we and they, and does for he, she and it. Let's look at the first example. We have a deal. Notice that here have is the main verb. Therefore, we need the auxiliary do. Do we have a deal? John lives in London, present simple. Here we have John, he, so you need the auxiliary does. Does John live in London? Notice that the S disappears from live because it's on does. And finally, in the past simple, they went to the museum. The auxiliary is did. Put it at the beginning of the sentence and change went back to go. Did they go to the museum? Right, now that you have reviewed how to formulate questions, let's look at some question words. Who, what, where, when, how, why, how many, how much, how long, how often, how far. To formulate questions with question words, simply change your statement into question, add the question word, and then remove the answer. For example, this is for Susan. Let's ask a question with who. Change to question form first. Is this for Susan? Add who and remove Susan. Who is this for? He was watching a film. Let's ask a question with what. Change to question form. Was he watching a film? Add what and remove a film. What was he watching? They're in the garden. Let's ask a question with where. That's right. Are they in the garden? And then add where, removing in the garden. Where are they? Next question. Sam will be back on Friday. Change the question. Will Sam be back on Friday? And then add when, removing on Friday. When will Sam be back? They were walking fast. Let's change the question form and then add how. Were they walking fast? How were they walking? She left because it was late. Let's ask why. Correct. Change the question form. Did she leave because it was late? And now remove the answer. Why did she leave? We have bought 5 laptops. Let's ask how many. Have we bought 5 laptops? Remove the answer and add how many. How many laptops have you bought? It costs $80. Let's ask how much. Question form first. Does it cost $80? Add question word. How much does it cost? We can stay 1 hour. Let's ask with how long. Question form first. Can we stay an hour? Add question word. How long can we stay? They come here once a week. Change the question. Do they come here once a week? Add how often. How often do they come here? And your last example, she had walked 5 kilometers. Question form, had she walked 5 kilometers? And now add the question word. How far had she walked? Right, let's look at 2 special cases. That's when who and what ask questions about the subject of your statement. In this case, there is no need to change into question form. You simply replace the subject by who or what. For example, John knows the way. To ask a question about John, just replace John by who. Who knows the way? The wind damaged the building. You want to ask a question about the subject, the wind. Simply replace the wind by what. What damaged the building? Let's finish by looking at some common mistakes. The most common mistake is using your intonation to change a statement into question. It does work in many languages, but not in English. You do need to use the question form. So try to avoid saying, "It's all right." Always change the question form. "Is it all right?" You might hear, "You know the answer?" That doesn't sound very good in English. Use the auxiliary and change into question form. Do you know the answer? Let's look at another common one. "Which you said?" Doesn't sound good at all. Use the auxiliary. "What did you say?" Another common mistake is using two auxiliaries, or an auxiliary with a modal verb or with the verb to be. Let's look at some examples. You may hear someone say, "Do you have finished?" This is the present perfect, a tense where we can see the auxiliary, it's have, therefore there is no need for another auxiliary. Simply use have to make the question. "Have you finished?" Or sometimes you may hear this mistake. "Does he can swim?" Again, the modal verb makes the question itself. No need to use another auxiliary. Simply, "Can he swim?" And our final example, you might hear someone use an auxiliary with the verb to be. As you have seen, the verb to be makes the question itself. Simply, "Was he on time?" Well, that's all for this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. As you know, you can go to anglolink.com to read the explanations I've just given you and do some exercises to review and reinforce this point. And thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye now.